Okay, guys. So we're going to take a minute today to talk about the next step in learning your fishing and trying to improve on it. So we already talked about casting, flipping, getting the bait to the fish, getting bit. So that's the first step. The second step is getting the hook set once you do get bit. So we're going to talk about hook sets today. Whenever you're using a soft plastic bait that has a single hook, or any bait for that matter that has a single hook, whether it's a spinner bait, a buzz bait, fluke, a chatterbait, jig, anything that's got that big single hook, it's going to be super important that you get that hook set. Because if you don't, that fish, when it comes up and jumps, is going to shake the hook, or every time it gets around a reed or something, it's going to pop the hook out. You've got to get that hook set in there, and you got to get that barb in there so that you got a chance to catch that fish. So when you're flipping, you're using a big weight and you're using a big hook, and you want it to be weedless. So you want that bait to come through the weeds. See, I can pull it right through my hand there. There's no stick. I don't have any point of that hook out. Got a little bit there, but I pulled on it pretty hard. But you don't want that hook out at all. You want to be able to pull that bait through. But when the fish grabs it, he's going to grab that weight too. It's really critical that you get a sharp, hard hook set, because if you look inside that fish's mouth, this is what's inside the mouth. Here's his jaw closing shut. So when you set the hook, you've got to clear the weight. You've got to be able to get the weight pulled through, because the bait's not going to travel if he's got the weight stuck in his mouth. So the weight has to be able to travel to get that hook set. The hook has to move. So if he grabs it like this, the hook has to move that far to get that barb in. So you've got to get this much travel between the weight coming out of his mouth and the plastic getting off the hook. You've got to get that much travel to get that hook set. So when we're flipping, how do we accomplish that? Really any kind of fishing, but for the most part today, we've been showing flipping videos. That's what we've talked about. We're going to talk about getting the hook set flipping. So we accomplish it by being consistent. We want to make the same movements every time we set the hook. When we're learning, that's critical, because it's hard to jerk this way and jerk that way and jerk this way and really get consistent with the power and the speed that you need to get that hook set. So first thing, when you're setting the hook, it needs to be at an angle of 45 degrees. If 90 degrees is straight up and the 180 is straight flat, you want it right in the middle. You want 45 degree angle. You want it here or here when you're setting the hook. That's the best angle. Now, you want to use every tool that you have at your disposal when you're getting the hook set. And the way that rods are made for the most part today, you don't see any of the little short pistol grips anymore. And the reason is that they've learned that a longer butt on your rod means that you can put that rod right in here on your side. And when you're fishing, when you set the hook, you got that rod pinned here, that rod acts like a lever, like that. You get your hook set because your body's on the rod here, and it holds the rod and speeds up the tip as you jerk. So that's why you want to go 3/4. Now the next thing is that you want to make sure that you try to set yourself up where you have open space the direction you're going to jerk. What direction do you jerk? Okay, good thing you asked. Here's how we're going to define that. You're going to jerk across your body. So if you're holding the rod in your left hand and you're reeling with your right hand, the way that I flip, that's the way it looks. I'm going to jerk to my right. If you're holding the rod in your right hand and you're reeling with your left hand, you're going to jerk to your left. So you're going to jerk across your body. That allows you to put that rod butt up under your arm, up against your side, and use it to create that leverage to get that hook set more solid, more power, more speed. Now the next step, the next thing that you want to make sure you do is to really improve your hook sets, you want to jerk on a slack line. So if I take this line and I hold it, if I stretch it out and grab it and I just pull it like that, you don't hear anything, and it's got some power, but it's not real sharp. It's not real quick. Now if I put a little bit of slack in it and then I jerk it, you hear it? That's what you want. So what you want to do when you get bit, drop the rod, take up half the slack, and set the hook. you want to hit the fish as you start to jerk. You want to be on slack line, hit the fish about a third of the way through your jerk, and then set the hook with the rest of it. That's the ultimate hook set when you're flipping or when you're fishing close, but it really works throughout. If you can set the hook that way on a fluke, if you can set that hook the way on a chatterbait, any of it, jig, that's the way you want to get that hook set. Sometimes you won't be able to do that. Sometimes the fish is going to dictate what you're able to do. But for the most part, you pick up, you feel the bite, drop the rod, take a crank, set the hook. You jerk in that slack line, and the pop of that line coming tight is what drives that hook in. It gives you that good penetration, that good solid hook set that's going to allow you to hook a big fish, get him all tangled up in the reeds, fight him out of those reeds and get him. And that's the difference in a picture of an 8-pounder and a story for your friends about the bite that got away. So make sure that you really focus on getting that hook set, because that's really going to make your conversion of getting bites to fish in the boat go way up. So we talked about every once in a while the fish is going to catch you wrong-handed or off guard. And that happens all the time. It seems like if you go fish for 5 hours and get 3 bites, all 3 bites will come when you're looking at something else or when you're going to get a drink, whatever. Right then is when you're going to get bit. So how do you get the hook set when you're in a position that you're not set to jerk to the right? So the best way you can think about it is remember that the reason we jerk like that is because it gives us leverage. So if I'm here and my buddy comes up beside me and he's standing right here, and now all of a sudden I get bit and I can't jerk the way I need to because I'm going to hit him or his rod, then what I have to do is try to create the same leverage. So I'm up here, I get bit, I'm going to reach and grab the rod and jerk it backwards and create that pivot point, that snap. And then as I hit the fish and get the hook set and I'm following through, now I'm going to tuck the rod back in and convert and start reeling. So you have to get kind of comfortable with your rod and reel. You have to be able to make those moves. But getting that leverage is important to get the hook set. In all honesty, keeping the line tight, keeping the rod down when the fish jumps, keeping the rod up when the fish is diving, all that's part of the art of fighting the fish. But if you get the hook set, you got a really high percentage chance of catching that fish. If you get the hook set in a solid part of the fish's mouth, if you set the hook and the fish gets some slack in the line, you got time to get it caught back up and get pulling tight on it because you got that hook in there buried. You've seen, I've got video of fish that I've caught where I set the hook hard enough that the hook went all the way through the mouth and hung in the reeds, and the fish is swimming up and down the line, but the hook's in the reed, and I still got the fish because I got the hook set really solid, and even though it went into the reeds following the fish and he pulled off of it, he was still on the line because I had it deep enough that he couldn't hang the point in the reeds and shake it out of his mouth. And so that clean hook set is important. If you get caught off-handed, if the fish is already pulling, you come tight and the fish is pulling your line out, you can't get any slack, just get that same motion. Get that fast snap as hard as you can and drive that hook in. If he's going the other way, he's helping you get the hook set. So getting the slack isn't quite as important as if it's a fish that's neutral or even coming towards you a little bit. The slack helps you drive it right off the bat. But if the fish is going the other way, as long as you're solid and he doesn't break your wrist and you just try to just halfway pull, as long as you get that rod around, you're going to hook that fish. Ooh. I think when my reel caught, oh, good God, dude, he was going out the front with it when I got. All right, there you go. A little bit of information on how to get that hook set. That's how I do it. It's taken me years to kind of get it to the point where it's at now, but I've been very fortunate this year. I haven't lost a lot of fish. Once I get the hook in, I usually get the fish. So hope it works for you. Hope it helps you catch more fish. Good luck out there, and I'll see you soon.